Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yes. So we got a pretty good episode here for you tonight. Got some, I think, some pretty interesting topics. As you can see on the rundown on the left side of your screen there, or maybe it's the right. I don't know, but yeah, it should be the left side. But anyway, definitely got some interesting topics I want to go ahead and get into, and I'm looking forward to getting into that with you. When you get in the chat, make sure you give us that like and let us know where you're coming in from and where you're checking out the show from, and don't hesitate to leave your comments or what have you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And first topic we're going to talk about Jaylen Brunson and the New York Knicks. So the Knicks, or should I say the Villanova Knicks, maybe not the New York Knicks, right? But we'll get to that in a minute. But they got NYC super excited about basketball, maybe for the first time since Carmelo Anthony was lighting up the Garden. That's been a while, right? And we see what they're doing. They've already clinched their position in the second round of the playoffs in the East. And the funny thing is, like, going into these playoffs, there was a lot of questions about them. And shout out Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's up? It's not that serious. I seen your comments on a lot of my videos. Appreciate the feedback and all that. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, there were a lot of questions about the New York Knicks. There were questions about Julius Randle, right? Is he the guy? He normally folds in the playoffs. Let's keep it 100, right? He's a guy that hasn't been able to be that guy for the Knicks, even though I think he's been third team All NBA a couple times. He's a really good regular season player, but then about when the playoffs come around, he's not able to get the job done. So there was questions about that. But this season, he was having another really good regular season. Then about halfway through, I think like 46 games, he got injured and he was done for the year. And now there's a new question. Can the Knicks survive and advance in the playoffs without him? So you had to worry about that. So then they're asking that. Well, obviously we got that answer. The Knicks ended up being the number 2 seed in the East. They won 50 games. So then it's back to the original question, right? But this time it's with a different player. And the question is Jaylen Brunson that guy? And realistically, it definitely looks like it, right? Because this is a guy who averaged 29 points per game in the regular season, about 7 assists per game, 48% from the field, and 40% from three. That sounds like the guy to me. And then they asked the same question again, but this time they asked the question about the coach. Is Tom Thibodeau that guy? Coach Tibbs. Now, I'm a Celtics fan, so I've known about Coach Tibbs for a long time, since he was the number 1 assistant with Doc Rivers on that 2008 championship defense, that 2008 championship team in Boston, where he basically ran the defense, best defense in the league. And Coach Tibbs, he's known for being ultra gritty. He's known for being old school. He's a coach that preaches toughness and defense, and he wants maximum effort every single practice and every single game. And there's none of this kind of new school mentality of taking it easy sometimes and waiting for the playoffs to come around or ramping up slow. Like, Coach Tibbs don't do that. If you're just coming into the chat, appreciate you. Make sure you give us that like, that thumbs up, and let me know where you're coming in from. Yeah, so Coach Tibbs, he's not that kind of guy, to the point that in the Athletics 2024 anonymous player survey, there was a question on there: which NBA coach would you least like to play for? And the answer overwhelmingly was Coach Tom Thibodeau, I guess because he's such a hard-nosed guy. But do you think he cares? Probably not at all, right? He's a champion and as an assistant, and then obviously he's had some really good times as a head coach as well. He hasn't won a championship as a head coach, but who knows if and when that may happen, right? He coached Derrick Rose to the MVP in Chicago, then got them to the Eastern Conference Finals before they ran into the LeBron Miami Heat super team. It is what it is. Now he's got the Knicks in the second round for the second straight year with a legit chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I don't believe Carmelo Anthony was ever able to take the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals during his time there. And so those were the most recent really good Knicks teams. And then obviously they haven't been in the finals since 1999. They played the Spurs. They got beat. That was pretty much at the end of Patrick Ewing's tenure there. And he didn't even play in that finals because he was injured, unfortunately. That, who knows if that could have been a different matchup. this is actually a good point here, Sneed. The poll that the Athletic gives, the anonymous poll, should be given to players who have won championships and made deep runs in the playoffs. Yeah, they might actually have a more viable opinion, right? So I hear you on that. Definitely, that's not bad at all. But yeah, so then they asked the same question again. Now you have Coach Tibbs, the hard-nosed guy who gets every ounce of effort out of his teams all year long. And you have Jaylen Brunson, a guy that nobody thought really could be that guy. And then your main guy, or the guy you thought was your main guy, Julius Randle, he's out for the remainder of the year. And so they ask, can this Knicks team, as constituted, make a deep run in the playoffs? Well, so far, so good. So remember earlier, I called them the Villanova Knicks, and there's a reason for that, right? Three of their key players, Jaylen Brunson, obviously, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, they won national championships at Villanova. And even more coincidentally, it's kind of crazy, they had Philly in the first round, so they went down there and took over Philly like they never left, because obviously Villanova's in Philadelphia. And so they pretty much went home, went down there and got busy. So now the Knicks are in the second round, and Jaylen Brown is going absolutely nuts in the playoffs so far. Now, in fairness, the first two games of that Philly series, he was terrible. He was 16 of 55 from the floor, sorry. But then Jaylen Brunson went crazy. And then he kind of turned back into the MVP candidate that he's been all year long. And over the last four games, he's averaging 41 points, 10 assists, shooting 49% from the field, 35% from three, and he averaged 36 and 9 overall for the series. Yeah, I'd say he was on fire. He's went nuts. That was crazy. But the thing is, it's not just him, right? The other Villanova Wildcat, this is what really got me, and this kind of touches my old school basketball mentality, is that Josh Hart went nuts. So this is a guy, mind you, he's 6'4". He averaged 9 points, 8 rebounds in the regular season. So key contributor, right? This postseason so far, he's bumped that up to 17 points and 12 rebounds in the playoffs. That is big time grind mode at 6'4". Like, that's guard size, and this dude is out here really, really hitting the glass. The only other guy at that height that I remember really rebounding like that in the modern era, of course, you can go back to Elgin Baylor, who was a dominant rebounder at his size, but in the modern era, the only guys rebounding like that were Larry Johnson when he was young, and of course, around mound to rebound himself, Charles Barkley, right? So it doesn't even make sense what Josh Hart has been doing. He's just dominating on the glass. I'm sorry, and there isn't much short of injury that you're going to see that's going to make you think that that's going to change. By the way, obviously, you're probably a basketball fan if you're listening to this right now. Game one of the Minnesota and Denver series just started. I got that on the other monitor. So if you see me looking that way, I'm checking that out while I'm talking to you guys. But great playoff season so far. PJ Tucker, Sneed, yeah, he rebounded well for a shorter player, but not like this. As far, I don't recollect him rebounding like this. It's not that serious. I wonder, when Randall come back, can he adjust to it being Brunson's team? He better adjust. If he wants to listen, he better adjust, be that second guy, and just be a contributor and try to help this team to get as far as it can, because the ultimate goal is to win a championship. Now, I know that all these guys have big egos as big time players, guys who've been superstars pretty much since high school. But if you're Julius Randle, you got to come back and say, all right, Jaylen, this is your show. I'm going to try to get in where I fit in. I'm going to contribute. I'm going to do some dirty work, try to defend, hit the glass, make timely shots or whatever. But let's go try to win first, and then we'll work out the rest of it. At least that's my thought. But of course, it's easy enough for me to say that sitting here, never having been the guy, right? But yeah. So anyway, Josh Hart just getting busy. And you love to see it. So now in the second round, the Knicks have this matchup against Indiana, who is stylistically the opposite, right? They like to get out on the open floor. They like to really score quickly. They're a terrible defensive team. I think they're probably the worst defensive team left in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. They're really, really bad. But what they do, like I said, they play fast and they score a lot of points. And it should be a great matchup, right? You always hear styles make fights, and we're going to talk about a big fight later. But this should be a great matchup. And I'm really looking forward to the point guard battle between Jaylen Brunson and Tyrese Haliburton. I think that's going to be awesome. When you think about Jaylen Brunson, though, and this is kind of my fault too, I fell into the trap. I never expected him to become this, right? He was in Dallas and he was kind of playing in Luka's shadow, and I was surprised when the Knicks gave him the deal that they did. When he became a free agent, was at 4 years, $104 million. I'm like, they gave Jaylen Brunson $104 million, right? Now that's a bargain for a star in today's NBA. I totally get it, but I still was like, that's pretty high because I'd never seen him. Like I'd seen him play some good games, but I never really saw him go off like that when he was in Dallas. Yeah, okay. Jaylen Brunson greater than Tyrese Haliburton. So, I mean, you could look at it that way, but Tyrese Haliburton has would he lead the league in assists this year? He's been scoring well, so you know, I, it could be a toss up. Now, whoever plays better in this series and who plays better on this bigger stage will probably get the nod. But I get your feeling, but I think it's a toss up, man. Tyrese Haliburton's been really, really sharp all year long. So I mean, I'm not mad either way you go with that, but it- I'm more traditionalist when it comes to point guards. I love point guards that just distribute the basketball and play the point guard position the way it used to be. Now, I'm not upset if a point guard scores, but I want the point guard to be more of a distributor. But that again, that's my old school basketball mentality, more so based on how I was raised in the game and how I was raised to, what I saw growing up and how I think the game should be played. Obviously, the game has changed a whole lot, and I got to do a better job of changing with it. But anyway, yeah, so this matchup is going to be really good, the Pacers and the Knicks. But um I think this is just another opportunity for Jaylen Brunson to continue to show the world that he is truly special. And I think most people, I know I do, have the Knicks winning this series and going on presumably to play the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that that would be really good for the NBA, especially with where the NBA is right now in terms of having its proverbial big guns all out of the playoffs and Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James. So, we need the best series possible, the best markets possible, the best players possible, all those things. The NBA is hoping that it gets all that. And if you had a Knicks versus Celtics series, I think you would get a lot of that based on the fact that obviously, I don't know if you're from the East Coast or not, but Boston and New York, that is a real thing. Not sure where that originally came from, but that is a real rivalry pretty much in every aspect of life in those two cities, especially in sports. And so having the opportunity for the Knicks and the Celtics to go at it, kind of like they used to do back in the old days, that would be great for the NBA. And I think that they could market that pretty well. And I'm pretty sure if that happened, obviously you're going to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brunson, but you might also get some Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird type commercials in there too, or commercials with footage of those guys from back in the day, or when they do the promos for the games before they start, they might have some of that because you got to market that stuff. You got to find a way to market it. So I think that that might be something that would be really good for the league. We know that pro sports, as much as we want to believe that it's about competition, really it's a TV product first, and it's more about entertainment. Now, personally, I look at it and say, if you go to the competition aspect and guys are playing their hardest and giving it all that they got, yeah, no, absolutely, it's not that serious. Knicks versus Celtics would be crazy. I agree with you 100%. But yeah, I was saying if you look at what you got in terms of uh um guys giving all they got and really competing, then everything else comes with it and you will get the benefit of great entertainment. See, the Larry Bird Magic Johnson thing, of course, that was straight out of central casting, right? You had the white guy in Boston, the black guy in LA. The black guy in LA was flashy and had a ton of showmanship. The white guy in Boston was gritty and hardworking. You had the built-in rivalry of the Lakers and the Celtics all those years, right? And then, of course, you had those guys having just been the central characters in the highest viewed not NBA, NCAA championship game in history. It still is, by the way. So all of that was so perfect and it just worked together. But at the crux of it was the competition between those two. It wasn't that they were trying to be entertaining. They were trying to beat the brakes off each other. And that's what led to the entertainment. And so anyway, if the Knicks and the Celtics play in the Eastern Conference Finals, what you have there is a revival of that New York and Boston sports rivalry. And that is an incredible thing. Ron Jones, yeah, absolutely. Celtics fan till I die. I've been a Celtics fan since I stole your Celtics hat in 3rd grade and wore it to school, and so that was that. But yeah, definitely still a Celtics fan. But yeah, Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, that would be an absolutely incredible playoff series. I think it would be a really great series on the court, but again, it would be fantastic for marketing, and it would be it would be too easy to two outstanding teams. And either way, you get the Celtics going on to play for another championship, or you get the Knicks going on to play for a championship for the first time since 1999. But at the end of the day, the Knicks still have to get it done, and we'll see if Jaylen Brunson can stay hot. We'll see if DiVincenzo can still hit timely shots. We'll see if Hart can still continue to hit the glass and defend and be a beast and make timely shots on his own. But yeah, that's what I got on that topic for right now. Really excited for the possibility of seeing that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and put the number up. If anybody has some thoughts on that, on what they would like to see, or if they would like to see that game, the number is 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. I'd love to have you call in before we go to the next topic. Hello, you calling the Format Podcast?
Bruce, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Who's this?
My name is Sneed. I'm calling from Cleveland.
Sneed, what's going on, man? Thank you for the feedback, brother. What you got?
Yeah. Hey, man, good topics, good conversation, good points. I like the discussion about Brunson. I think what you're seeing is he's coming into his own. I think we're kind of watching this happen, right? He got his opportunity now on his own team. Stepping away from Dallas gave him that opportunity. It's a big stage, New York, right?
Yeah. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right?
No, but check this out. So big stage, he plays bigger. You're not seeing him fold. You're not seeing him choke. He's in big game spots and he's making big game shots, and his team wins because of him. And if you look at the team construct starting with Thibodeau, you know, you brought up the point about coaches and that survey. I want to know, man, the guys that win, do they feel the same way about these tougher coaches as the guys who lose or don't find the same success? Because I've been in corporate America, and I've seen regular people. I've seen high achieving people. The high achieving people look at the world differently.
That's true.
And the loser mentality is apathetic. It's skating by. It's doing the minimal. I don't need to know what those people think about.
That's a great point.
So I think about a guy like Brunson, who was brought there for a reason. People that believed in him, he's balling out for them. And Thibodeau had a Derrick Rose, right? Brunson is basically his Derrick Rose. It's his engine. It's his offensive horse. You know,
that's right.
He's the lifeblood of that team. But if you look at the construct of those players, I want you to compare the Chicago Bulls that Thibodeau had, going to the Eastern Conference Finals and playing LeBron in those playoff runs and all those things. And it's very similar. Taj Gibson, right? A guy who was not ultra talented, but Tibbs trusted him.
That's a great point.
Some of that happen with like Josh Hart and Hardenstein and these guys. They've earned Tibbs' trust over the course of the year because they play hard every game. They rebound. They do dirty work. He just trusts them, you know. And he's gonna go as far as he can with them. You're not gonna see experiments in the playoffs. You know, it's very predictable. You know, Tibbs is an old school guy. He's got an old school mentality. The formula works. That's why he's not in Minnesota. Minnesota needed something different. They had different players.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You see what? So like things can work in different settings with different scenarios if a person is enabled and given the reins to do so.
That's true. No, those are great points.
The coach has been given the reins. Like they have something going on that's good, and I don't think they have enough to win a chip, Bruce. No. But they have something good. And you know, there was a gentleman, or I'm not sure who it was in the live chat that said something about what you do with Randall. You move on from Randall and you try to return value. He ain't going to be a part of what they're building. He's something different. You know, so the meshing of that and trying to integrate that with Brunson, that may not be a thing.
No, maybe not.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think on that.
Definitely agree. I think that if Julius Randle can buy in, and I don't know if he's the type of guy who can buy in. I'm really not sure. And then also the fact that he's never, as far as I can remember, really been a competent defender. He can rebound, so that's part of defense, and obviously no rebounds, no rings. But I I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty fair point. If he were to come back and he couldn't, fit in, then he's got to go, and you got to find, to your point, some sort of return on value. I like that a lot. And to your point, I hadn't really considered the comparison between the way this Knicks team is built and the way that Bulls team was built. And you're right, it is very similar. And it is a coincidence as well. Maybe not a coincidence, but something else you said. The Minnesota team, they couldn't handle Tibbs, but the Chicago team had success and the New York team had success. And it's interesting because there's a lot of times that teams, not in every case, but they mirror their cities. And Chicago and New York are both two gritty, blue collar, tough towns with tough people. And so Tibbs fit in there, and he had the teams have the right mindset, and their mindsets mirrored those towns that they were in. So that was a great point by you as well. I did not consider that with the Minnesota. So yeah, very good.
It's definitely not. They're not mirror images, right? But we see the similarities.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're never going to be able to recreate the same thing.
No.
Every player is a different genetic makeup. They've got a different, skill sets, and they've got different mentalities. So some of that can vary from team to team, roster to roster, even on a year-to-year basis. You change one person on the roster, but if they have a prominent role on the team, it's changed everything.
Right.
Because you're going to minimize other things and you're going to maximize other things. So they got something good going on there. Just look at the way that they beat the Sixers. That is a Joel Embiid 76ers team. What is Embiid? Embiid is arguably the most talented center to come into the league in the last 30 years. I'm looking at the centers in the league. I mean, the most dominant, you could talk about Shaq and all these guys. Embiid can legitimately hit a three. He can legitimately pull 20-plus rebounds a game. He can legitimately score 50 in a game.
Yep.
He can legitimately lead your team in scoring, rebounds, and possibly assists, because you don't have a traditional point guard to fill up that stat part of the sheet, So this is he beat them so clearly.
Yeah.
The fact that games are close is just a testament to Embiid's toughness.
Yeah.
But Brunson was the key to that series. He was always going to be. He will be the key in the Pacers series, and I have them moving on from the Pacers, and I have them in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I agree. To your point about Embiid, I
wouldn't have said that a year ago, Bruce. I wouldn't have said that a year ago. In the beginning of the year, I wouldn't have said this, but I'm watching it.
I don't think any of us would have. But watching what Brunson is doing,
you're watching it.
Absolutely, you're seeing virtuoso, performances. I think that Jaylen Brunson is the last New York Knick to close out a series with a 40-point performance since Bernard King. That's a long time ago. I was in grade school when Bernard King was suiting up for the Knicks.
I was a little kid, bro.
Right. So, yeah.
I remember the Washington Bullets years for Bernard
King. Right. Me too. That's right. So, to see what he's doing and to know some of the players that have played on the Knicks since then, obviously, your Patrick Ewings and your Carmelo Anthony's, to see what Jaylen Brunson is doing here is pretty impressive. And it wasn't just against some also-ran team. Like the Sixers were really good, and to your point, Embiid. But bringing up Embiid, I'm a huge Embiid fan because if you watch my show, and I know you do, Olajuwon is my favorite player of all time.
Same. My favorite player of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. What a coincidence.
my absolute favorite player of all time.
Yes, same here.
He is not the GOAT. He can't be the GOAT. There's not enough success to be the GOAT.
Correct.
But he is by far the most that skilled player talk that they're talking about.
Correct.
Right now, I swear to God, if you don't put Hakeem as, he's got to be your top two skilled players if you're going to have a serious conversation with anybody. Because when they talk about players who are skilled, why the hell was Kobe and LeBron calling him? Teach me the footwork.
That's right.
But what are you serious? This is the professor. The game is to be sold, not to be told.
That's right. The funny thing too, though, they so many quote unquote basketball fans and basketball media always ignore the other side of the ball as if defense is not a skill as well. And in my estimation, Dream is the second best two-way player ever behind Michael Jordan. So the fact that he is such an elite two-way player really, really sticks out to me. And so, yeah, but when it comes to Dream, that's why I love Embiid so much, because obviously he's like, for this era, he's Dream light. But there's just there seems like there's just something missing when it comes to Embiid, and I'm not sure what it is, and I hope at some point he can figure it out, but we'll see.
I think some of that is fortune, right? You need good fortune in an NBA career.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Oden didn't have that. You know, a lot of players, Tracy McGrady didn't have that. Anthony Hardaway didn't have that.
Right. Grant Hill didn't have that.
Didn't have, they did not have the good fortune. It
That's
didn't
right.
work out that way. They can make the best of their situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real hoops fans know who these guys are.
That's right.
They know what they really are and what they did and accomplished. But I think Embiid might end up one of those guys because here we are in year. Are we in year 10 yet? 9?
9 or 10. Yeah, he's been here for a minute. I don't think he played his first 2 years at all. So that's
okay. So we're
he gets a little extra time there.
We're halfway through an NBA career of a player who weighs nearly 300 pounds, who is 7 feet tall. I point as a reference to Zydrunas Ilgauskas, who had experimental foot procedures done at multiple points in his career in order to try to extend by a few years to continue to play. I mean, just feet, knees, ankles, joints. I mean, we can have, these are large human beings.
Bill Walton, Yao Ming,
and
lower extremity injuries. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And it's if you ever get near these humans in real life, it is astonishing. I met Shaq once.
Okay.
And he engulfed me when I gave him the bro hug, the dap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I disappeared. It was like I was in a cave.
Yeah. I met Artis Gilmore. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I met Artis Gilmore. That is a gigantic man. You know?
I met Hakeem. I was at the
wow,
bro. He was doing prayer.
Oh,
he got up. It was like a transformer was getting up from a car mode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's incredible. You know, so and you know, I love your show, man. I love your insights, bro. You have my full support, bro. I'm glad to come across your channel and then talk with you on the show. And if you ever see me in the live chat and you throw that number out, I'm calling you.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. You're welcome.
All right.